Hi, folks. Just get this right. I was thinking about people in my life or relationships that I've had. Okay, friendships, whatever you want to call it, relationships, and I was reflecting on some of them and thinking, like, how many of them left a bitter taste in my mouth. Okay, if you will. Um, Maybe like just there were maybe some good times. Okay, there's an individual who comes to mind, a guy that I knew, and I haven't spoken to him in about 4 or 5 years. No, maybe 3 years. And Facebook showed me some of his latest photos, and it made me think of him, and it didn't bring up fond memories. And I was friendly with this guy for quite a while, and he was somebody that I helped out with cash one day, and he promised to pay me back like after the weekend. He wanted to pay his rent or something like that, and apparently he was getting money into his account, and he was going to sort me out, and he knew that I needed that money for my rent, and but he didn't pay me back, and even to this day he didn't pay me back. And so it wasn't so much about the money; it was just about the relationship itself, and he was a very intense guy, and for I'm saying he just wasn't a healthy individual. I'm not sure if I was very healthy either. But whatever. The thing is that I think if he had to look back, this guy in particular had to look back and say, he would probably look over our relationship with fondness, I suppose, I would imagine. But for myself, I can't say the same, I can't say the same. And again, this is not that I'm holier than thou or anything like that. It's whatever. It's just, I think that I've left more people in relationships, that I've parted, or sometimes the relationship ended because somebody went overseas or something like that, or that I would like to think. Obviously, there probably the few that would say, look, I don't have any fond memories of that with that guy. Or I do have very few, but most of them were just troublesome. He's just a troublesome kind of guy, and he just left me with a very heavy heart. I'd like to think that there are very few people that can say that. But in my life, I can say there's a hell of a lot of people that left me with a very heavy heart. All right, and still leave me with a heavy heart today. Relationships and friendships, or people that I'm in, family relationships that I'm in, that still leave me with a very heavy heart. Most, I would say. And folks, I was thinking about people today, and people that I know that have been married for 15 years, and their marriage has just been a disaster. It's been so sort of humdrum. It's been just completely sort of just in a matter of just sort of strategy for sort of living in a way, type of thing. Not any sort of deep connection or deep intimacy or romance or growing together or something like that. It's more just been about, well, he pays the bills and I raise the kids or something like that, and take them to school and whatever it is, and the community know us to be married, and that's how they identify us, and that's how I've identified myself for so long, and whatever it is, and and so it works, right? It just works. Or you can get a relationship where it's codependent, right? I know of another marriage, people be married for about 25 years. And I know the woman, I can't go into detail here, but I know the woman, and if they had to divorce, or, the husband had to pass away, she would most likely say there was very few fond memories. I'm left with a very heavy heart, right? And so what I'm saying is, obviously relationships end on all different fronts. Marriages sort of dissolve and break up for many different reasons or whatever it is. But what I'm saying is that, and generally, we don't part on good terms. That's what I have found. I have found that most otherwise you'd still be in a relationship with the person, or friends with the person, or close with the person, whether it be a family member, or not, whether it be an ex-girlfriend or boyfriend or something like that, an ex-husband or wife. I mean, I've seen maybe one in particular now that I think about it, where a husband and wife are still friends with one another. But most of the time the husband and the wife have got so much water under the bridge. There's just so much drama that's happened. There's been so much conflict. There's been so much abuse that they basically just don't want to know each other at all. All right. And so just appreciating when you take stock of one, my life, and I look at them and I look at my life and I say, like, that a lot of my relationships with people have been really heavy-hearted. Sometimes it's maybe just been in business, okay? And it left me with a bad taste in my mouth. And it's still like, when I think about it, I just, it saddens me, okay? It upsets me, because I also realize that, sometimes it didn't have to go that way, right? That we lost. I've spoken about my cousin in talk I haven't yet uploaded, if I mentioned that he was my cousin, but my cousin nonetheless. And it's like, that was such a heartbreak, right? I mean, we went our separate ways, and I don't think we had to. I don't think we had to. We had a very close relationship, but I was going in the direction of sort of breaking out of the Shawshank Redemption, Andy Dufresne style, and if you will, and he just wanted to be like Brooks in the, and stay inside, and he was comfortable with it and whatever it was. And so I had to depart. I had to leave Plato's Cave, and he didn't want to, baby. And it was a heartbreak. And I'm sure many folks of you out there that are listening as well have waved goodbye to people that you've had to leave in Plato's Cave, all right? And you've had almost, and most of them you haven't, well, a lot, you don't have anything to do with them. So, folks, what I'm saying as well at the same time is that we take relationships, we take friendships, whatever you want to call it, for granted. We don't realize that we can really do, we leave bad tastes in each other's mouths, right? Or like we leave each other with a heavy heart. We don't see that. We don't see it. In other words, what I'm saying is that people in my life, right, that I try to make sure, whoever they are, that I don't leave them with a heavy heart, all right? That I leave them with fond memories. Look, there's going to be obviously times that are not great, and times where I've let them down, or I've been insensitive or indifferent, or I haven't maybe met their expectations or something like that, whether it be healthy expectations. There's going to be, but it's going to be 10%. And then sort of the good times, the inspiration, the empowerment, I'd hope, would be 90%. The fond memories would be 90%. And that you leave, what I'm saying is that I have, and I still wish to people in my life, to leave them with a smile in their heart, when I go my way. That I leave them with a smile in my heart, and when they think of me, they feel a sense of warmth and comfort, just something, wonderful. I'd like to think, but that's something that I could work towards in my relationship with people, whether it be unhealthy relationships, like I'm saying, just sort of business people that I'm sort of, in other words, not to. Like with my landlord, maybe that was a good idea, a guy named Daryl, right? I was the best tenant he could have possibly had. I really was. I mean, I was fixing up the house with my own money. I mean, I don't know why. I was too soft, and he saw that, and I just thought we were pals, and I thought we had a good relationship. And what happened was, when I told him that I'm leaving, and I gave him my notice and everything was clear, he turned into somebody completely different now. He was more like... He basically felt that he was living a good tenant, and it's going to be hard to find a tenant, because it was hard to find me in the first place. So it was going to be hard to find another tenant, and possibly he should sell the house. And he was so upset with me leaving that he decided to keep I put 2 months rent down in the beginning, which I never got any sort of interest on, which is how it works. But that basically he was going to keep my 2 months deposit in order to fix up the house. He started accusing me of things that I had broken in his house that were originally broken. There were originally broken window, broken blinds, oven that wasn't working, and he just wanted to bill me and charge me so he could fix it up. And what I'm saying is that I had to become quite nasty about it, right? And then we needed to sort of solve the situation, which it wasn't really solvable, because he was really ripping me off. I mean, he literally was daylight robbery, basically. But my point is that I would think that, okay, we ended off on a bad note, but to remember who I was and who the person that I was, and that would leave sort of more of and maybe even a lesson to himself, like saying, well, maybe I shouldn't have ripped Aaron off, I don't think he's actually thinking that. But look, at least I provided that service. So even what I'm saying is an unhealthy relationship, which turned into be an unhealthy relationship, or an unhealthy relationship sometimes when I had a woman who was stealing from me. How much time have I got left here? I had a woman who was stealing from me, a woman, a massage therapist. She was working for me, and she stole 2 months' salary from me, and yet I still managed to leave it on good terms. Okay. Well, that was also because of for my own safety, because she was working in my house. She had dangerous friends, like in South Africa, if someone knows the inside of your house, okay, and they know you're a soft target, and they know your security's not great, and you're nasty to them, and you're gonna pay and in a hectic way. I mean, she could have easily, if I had just I caught her for stealing, but she denied it completely. But if I said to her, look, you leave, you bloody thief, otherwise I'll call the cops, you can be sure, I reckon, in a week or 2 weeks later, she don't want to know what can happen here in this country. Who she can contact, who she can tell. She'll say, listen, I know the inside of the house, I know who lives in the house, I know the value of every single thing, I can tell you. She will use it, she will sell that information to somebody or other, and they can come and they can take me out. It's not a problem. In this country, I know it sounds hectic, and I'm not exaggerating. I feel sometimes when I speak about this country, this is a side note, that I'm exaggerating. Like I spoke about it on a video about that in this country that they twerk at funerals, like, a funeral's a party, it's to get drunk and celebrate. And I just felt there were 1 or 2 comments where people might have felt that I wasn't being, or I maybe was just being, like, I thought to myself, it wasn't really in the comment section, it was almost to myself that I felt that people would think like I'm exaggerating, I'm being dramatic, just whatever, and I'm not. YouTube twerking at funerals, and go right ahead. I mean, as bad as people twerking on the coffin, okay? I'm not making this shit up. I'm not making it up. You can check it out. So what I'm saying is South Africa, like with this woman to come and find some kind of heavy dudes, whatever it is, I'd be in trouble. Anyway, so that relationship sort of ended off on a finer note. Well, because I had to do that. It wasn't really because I cared that this woman would maybe think, well, he was such a good guy at the end of the day, and he handled it, in good spirits, even though I did rob him blind, basically, whatever it was. But yeah, it's just like that. You don't become the monster, in other words, or the narcissist in the relationship, when it sort of starts to unfold and become toxic, and whatever it is, and conflicting confrontation, and becomes all of that stuff, that you don't turn into that person. You still don't turn into that person. You hold it, you handle it diplomatically, amicably, whatever it is, I don't know that word, you know what I mean, and you handle it correctly and in a healthy way. Sometimes for your own well-being, but also sometimes you just don't turn into a monster. And I'll end off on this, folks. But if we took relationships seriously, and we took responsibility for ourselves, to realize that we're going to leave a mark in this person's life, okay, when we're not in their lives anymore, whether we pass on, whether we immigrate overseas, whether the service is disconnected, whatever the business, whatever the kind of thing, is that you're going to leave somebody, like this guy that I was talking about in the beginning of this talk. He's left me with a heavy heart. My cousin's left me with plenty heavy heart. And if we realize that if we are sensitive enough to realize that we don't want to leave each other with a heavy heart, or a bad taste in our mouth, or bad memories, or traumatic memories, folks, or abusive memories, that we just don't want to do that. We don't want to leave a scar in a very unhealthy way, or a deep gash or wound to somebody. We don't want to do that. Then we would take much better care of one another. We really would be. And we wouldn't just take one another for granted. And we wouldn't just feel that we could be completely sort of selfish, or uninhibited, or irresponsible with one another, or disrespecting to one another. It would be brilliant, because we'd be working on ourselves in order to give one another the best of who we are, and not to bring our shadow out, to work on our shadow, to not project our shadow onto one another, but to work on that, all right, and build better relationships, and become better people through our relationships, damn it, and leave each other with a smile in our hearts, and a smile in each other's hearts, Definitely, folks. Relationships, really, they've got so much power. in a healthy, positive way, and they can be so destructive, you know. We can really hurt each other, and generally we hurt the ones we love the most. It's the irony of life, folks. All right, we'll chat soon. Take care.